I worked for this photographer through high school, and then at some point I decided I didn't want to go to camera photography school. Probably wasn't interested in being in the technical side of the business. So I enrolled, when I graduated high school, I went to Washington U, School of Art. It was the St. Louis School of Fine Art at that time. And I enrolled there and started studying art. Then we had to make a choice of whether we wanted to go into advertising design or into the fine arts or the commercial arts. Commercial arts at those days, if you recall, we were not graphic designers. So they had a course in industrial design, so I registered for the industrial design course. And it tied in very quickly. It got me looking at books and pictures and images, Raymond Loewy, and Henry Dreyfuss, the great industrial designers. It was a great time, and it was good for me, but it made me really learn to look at things differently and see opportunities in visualizing things and how to look at ideas. I did get a job with the old advertisers, displays, and exhibits. They're still around. I think they're still around. And I was designing pieces of exhibits for them. And I didn't stay with them very long when a job came up at the old American Stove Company looking for an industrial designer, and that's Magic Chef. And so I was able to get that job and took the job there, and I was there for about 4 years. And I designed the hardware that goes onto gas stoves and ultimately electric stoves. In '54, I left Magic Chef and opened up a little design office to design products for St. Louis manufacturers. And then I made a call on Swingaway Manufacturing Company. They made can openers. We did one new can opener. It was a little $1.98 can opener. And when the United States, when we were going to international trade shows, the country, we had a marvelous pavilion. It was a Buckminster Fuller Dome in Belgium. And a section of that dome was devoted to small products made in the United States. And my little my $1.98 can opener was in that exhibit, But it was the greatest training that I think somebody in our business could have. I really do. Because it made you ask questions. It gave almost a formula on how to approach getting a selling product into the market. We began doing things like trade show booths and retail point of sale materials because they were all structures. And if you knew material, you could come up with unique forms for them to take and explore other materials to get those forms to go. So we began looking at business, talking to people about doing business-to-business direct marketing. And there was a market there for it, and three-dimensional began to appeal to some of them. After an intensive campaign of mailings, which are some really cruddy mailings that he got of a mystery of a detective tracking down the Rosetta Stone, the green stone. And he finally found it, and I'm shipping it to you today, and here it is. Hieroglyphics. And the sword is used to pry the stone open. There was an instruction in there to pry the stone open. This resulted in a 3-month period and about something like $3 million worth of sales. And one of the first really strong jobs we got was from Brown Shoe Company. And they asked if we could put together some kind of a sales kit for a new children's shoe they were coming up with that their people could carry into a pediatrician's office. I was working on the Brown Shoe projects, a copywriter. Jim Newcomb was one of the brightest guys I've ever worked with putting marketing ideas together. We came to terms, and we started a new company called Frank James Direct Marketing. This is where my training in industrial design began to differentiate us from people that just trained in advertising, because advertising tends to be, nothing is for sure, advertising tends to be a surface treatment. Industrial design, where you're designing a product to sell at retail that a consumer has to hold in their hands and use, you have to understand the consumer, you have to understand the mechanisms, you have to understand the material. Well, we were approaching our products the same way with our business-to-business direct marketing. Then we had to understand what that buyer was thinking about, the consumer that was going to buy the product off the shelf in the store. So we had to know about shelf placement. We made it our business to understand the market that the distributor was going to sell to, which is a buyer, and the thing that the buyer was concerned about. So you had to start down at the bottom of the line and come up the food chain to the point where you entered the sale, where you entered the product. About 6 years ago, I thought maybe I could look at fine art as a place to go instead of out there selling commercial things. I bought a new digital camera one day, and I was out taking pictures, and I noticed there's stuff that I know about design and presentation of information and art, fine art. I was back to where I started.